I didn't know if I would have time to even get to this song, Pardon Me by Joey Badass, but I just had to. I finally got a chance to listen to it today. I haven't had time to listen to any analysis, but I heard a couple things and I said, well, I just have to bring what I'm going to bring. And in particular, I just want to keep going. I want to keep covering the great friendly fade of 25. That's what I'm calling this. When Marx was writing about Napoleon III rising to power and becoming an emperor, he said history repeats itself. First time it's tragedy, second time it's farce. Well, this is maybe a little bit of a farce of a rap battle. It is a friendly fade. There's thankfully no actual violence, but I also don't think there's any real desire to crush anybody for real. I don't think anyone is trying to stop any kind of licking. I think it's just, hey, let's build on this momentum that Kendrick and Drake drummed up with their great beef, and let's just put more perspective, more emphasis on lyricism. So let's just keep it going. So I am all for the friendly fade of 25. And listen, I'm an East Coast guy, and a lot of the reviewers, a lot of the commentators are super West Coast guys. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here represent for Joey Badass here on the East. That said, there is an issue with this whole thing. And what really brought me to want to talk about this song are the last lyrics. They are trying to touch the crown. Here I got some fades lined up. They mind struck, tell 'em step, the rhyme, slime. Now I know, now I'm worth y'all time, but y'all just ain't worth mine. Nobody knows your name, kid, but I know what your aim is. If I shoot you, I'm brainless. You shoot me, you're famous. Now, obviously, that is a reference to one of the two good songs off of Jay-Z's confusingly named second album, Volume 1, Streets is Watching. If I shoot you, I'm famous. I mean, if I shoot you, I'm brainless. If you shoot me, you're famous. But I really want to dive into this idea because I think that's the whole issue with the friendly fade of 25. It is asymmetrical warfare. Now, thank you for auditing the Always Positive Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who I used to get to teach French at a very high level. They've canceled the French program at my university, so I do get to teach hip-hop. I do not get to teach 17th century theater. One of the authors and books and plays that I teach is called Le Cid by Pierre Corneille. Now, this is Rodogun, a different book. Le Cid is in my office, so you're just going to have to imagine this as Le Cid. That's Lecid. Okay? It's a very famous story, 1630, if my memory suits me. And the whole story is about duels. It's actually about fighting for one's honor. And it was actually fascinating because it was right around the same time that the actual French king had outlawed duels because all the rich aristocrats were just stabbing each other to death instead of fighting for the crown. So it's kind of an interesting point in history. But it's all about duels. It's all about honor. It's all about what is called esteem. It's all about one's value and the value that you can get in a battle. So when I used to teach Le Cid, there's a little speech. Okay? J'admire ton courage et je plains ta jeunesse. Okay, I'll stop. I'll stop saying it in French. I'll translate on the fly here. I admire your courage and and your youth pains me. But don't try to kill me. Don't try to use up my valor in unequal combat. Too little honor would follow my victory. Victory without peril, or triumph without glory. Okay, so it's this count talking to this other count, this young kid, basically saying, for me to fight you would be a waste of my glory. I have earned this glory through duels. I've earned this glory through military combat. And for me to kill you, I would triumph without glory. I would vanquish without peril. So why do I talk about that here? Because I use that line from Jay-Z. I literally bring that line into Jay-Z and I say, what is being said in this play is, look, if I shoot you, I'm brainless. If you shoot me, you're famous. Okay? So it is literally how asymmetrical warfare can be thought of, where there's just a much larger, much better combat force. And if you win, it seems easy, and if you lose, it seems impossible. So, now, the issue that when it comes to this whole friendly fade is we have all these all these combat inégal, unequal combat. Okay, so we have Joey Badass like Scrappy Doo going after the boogeyman, going after Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar, for him to deign to take out somebody like Joey Badass would just be beneath him. Like he needed Drake. That's how he gets his glory, his value, his esteem. That's how he gets his merit. That's a term they use a lot in old French. Mérite. That's how he gets his merit. So this verse has Joey Badass talking about how he's not going to respond, and this is according to Genius. I haven't really watched all the analysis, so maybe Genius is wrong, but it seems to make sense. Replying to Ray Vaughn, who's one of the West Coast rappers, who went after Joey Badass. So you basically have like all these unequal combats going after each other, and it's felt. And that's maybe the problem of the great beef of 24 being so strong, is that every other friendly fade, it just kind of, this is not Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan in 1983. When was WrestleMania 1? God damn, I don't know enough about wrestling. This is not Foreman versus Ali, okay? This is just not that. So anyways, I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating that he takes up this line of mocking, to mock someone, saying, it would be beneath me to defeat you in combat. And when the whole problem is, it would be beneath Kendrick. But let's go to the song. It's awesome, I mean, listen, I would much prefer it if it was still a conductor beat, okay? I like the conductor beats. It kind of bugs me to have a trilogy of songs and have two producers and then one different producer. And hey, you know what? It really bugs me. I'm a nerd. This whole thing is nerd. It's all nerdy lyric stuff. It's, because we're not talking about actual death, thank God. We're not talking about actual misery or pain. We're just talking about a friendly fade. Why can't you get conductor on all three beats? Now, I like this beats. It's nice. It pitched up checkmark voices, and the beats far away in the beginning, and the voice is just so strong. And then the drums come in nice and really support the rhythm of his rapping and in the verses. It's good. But it's fine. So let's get to the lyrics. Okay, I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm going to go over a bunch of them, though. Pardon me is a great. So I dislike sorry, not sorry. I don't like that term. I find that term to be very annoying, so I was kind of against that song, even though I do like it. But pardon me is great, because it's indicating, like, one, he's interrupting. He's being a disruptor. So he's saying, pardon me. He's like going in. Like, when Bugs Bunny goes in to see a movie in a movie theater, and he goes into the middle, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, get by, excuse me, pardon me. Like he does that trick. I like that. Like, and it's also having the second meaning of, like, excuse me for being so great. This chorus, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful chorus. He says it like 5 times, and by the time you hear it like the third time, you're rapping along with it. Well, not every word of it, but you're rapping around with a lot of it. It's 20v one-man army. These tried to mark us like Garvey. Mark us out like Garvey. So, that's not the deepest possible Black History Month lyric. I was wearing Black History Month thinking of Marcus Garvey, a very important figure of the early 20th century. But still, it's an interesting idea, because he had this idea of leaving America and going back to Africa, so like marking us out. So it's not just Marcus Garvey and like mark us and then out like Garvey. It's interesting. It shows, and he's going to show this later, that he's having some fairly developed, well thought out references. Told y'all I was back now, gotta pardon me. I set the bar high like a effing Harley. So he's talking about, the Harley Davidson with the high, the high handlebars. That's cool. This is just Army Garvey, pardon me, Harley. It's good. Shoulder check him, then brush the dust off. Mama raised a soldier, I raised the bar, I wiped the rust off. So he continues in the verse. He comes through with the chorus in here, back to the bar. Called the Air Force, still waiting on a reply. So I went, you send in shots direct, make sure he die. This is that unequal combat, the asymmetrical warfare that's going on here. Like, is he talking about himself, not actually naming Kendrick? Or is he talking about these other West Coast rappers who are coming after him? They ain't no Joe Stallone, that ish like Rambo, the Silverton, Sly Sylvester, apply pressure. Great, because Stallone played Rambo. And if you haven't seen the first Rambo movie, I talked about this on a different video, but you have to see the first one. The movie's called First Blood. The other ones are just propaganda. The third Rambo movie is such propaganda. Did you know this? Do you know at the end, it's dedicated to the Mujahideen? It says this movie is dedicated to the brave fighters of the Mujahideen. You might know them by what they would turn into, Al-Qaeda. So anyways, very political. The Rocky movies, I mean, the Rambo movies are very political. But the first one is just Sylvester Stallone murdering police officers in the woods for an hour. It's a trip. But anyways, you know, Sylvester Stallone is a symbol of masculinity. Silver tongue, sly Sylvester, because his name is Sylvester Stallone. He's called Sly, apply pressure, playing with words, really doing that thing that good rappers can do of just finding words that sound good and putting them together. The suit's double-breasted linen, no polyester. Hey, man. Suits are expensive. You know, I try to wear a suit at work. I don't wear one every day. I mean, sometimes you got to go off the rack, you know? I mean, I usually go wool because it's pretty hot. I mean, it's pretty cold out here in Western New York. But that's secretly a super good bar because it's really like, man, do you have any polyester in your suits? You know, he's really thinking about it. Hopping out the limo, sticking middle fingers out the window, F a kind gesture when it comes to bars. I got you in limbo. I like it. Microphone checker, home wrecker. True story. So I can see the microphone levels on my computer. And literally every time I get started, I test the levels and I do like a Ron Burgundy thing. I just go, microphone check. 1, 2. Who is this? How tall was the assassin? How tall was the assassin? That's just what I do. That's how I mic check every day. Set the record straight. I'm at your breastplate. You bench weight. Bleed just like us. So get your men straight, because I could really put you men on pause. It's goofy. It's goofy, but it's strong and it's good, right? I mean, bleed just like us. That's a Biggie line. Man, do I even remember what song? If I go, you gotta go. I don't remember. You can tell me in the comments. I know it's a Biggie lyric. So get your men straight. Obviously, it's playing on the homophone. That's the term when words sound the same and they're different. So men straight and menstruate. And also, it's plural. So it's emphasizing the plurality that he's 1 versus 20, because that's the thing. I mean, he's basically alone out here fighting everyone on the West Coast. And as I said in my first video about Joey Badass, the thing I liked the most was that I thought he was provoking the East Coast. I thought he was provoking New York. I thought that was going to be the most interesting part. But then the East Coast was like, yeah, I don't know, I guess you're the king of New York, whatever. Man, I'm never going to buy a house. I don't know. And then we get to this next verse. Again, back to the chorus. Now, how I set the scene up is ominous. Painting pictures with your blood like Marina Abramović. Now listen, ominous and Abramović don't rhyme. That's okay, because he doesn't pronounce it properly. If you don't know Marina Abramović, she is a very important performance artist. I talked about her a fair amount when I talked about Kanye being a performance artist. Very influential. This is a deep reference here. Okay, first of all, just so you know, the Marina Abramović is from Yugoslavia, from the part of Yugoslavia that is now called Serbia, and my wife really likes her. So for Christmas, I got her this piece of art. Actually, it's a Marina Abramović signed print. It says 7 minutes of collective silence, and so this is to commemorate when she went to Glastonbury in the UK and literally just stood in front of the crowd of whatever 100,000 people and just was completely silent for 7 minutes in honor of all the people being genocided in Palestine. So that's Marina Abramović, and that's what she's up to now. She's a great artist, does a lot of interesting, very deep stuff. But I think this lyric is in reference. Sorry, I put that down carefully. I like that piece. I think you might think it might be a reference to one of her more controversial pieces from the 90s called Spirits Cooking, where she wrote the words love spells in pig's blood on the wall. But most likely it's her more famous piece, Rhythm Zero from 1974, where she straight up just stood in front of a whole bunch of people, okay, for 6 hours. All right. She stood in front of people for 6 hours, put a bunch of weapons and food and like feathers on a table and told the audience, you can do whatever you want to do with my body. I am the object. And here's a description of it. Okay. This is a description of it you can find online. It began tamely. Someone turned her around. Someone thrust her arms into the air. Someone touched her somewhat intimately. The night began to heat up. In the third hour, all of her clothes were cut from her with razor-sharp blades. In the fourth hour, the same blades began to explore her skin. Her throat was slashed so someone could suck her blood. Various minor sexual assaults were carried out on her body. She was so committed to the piece that she would not have resisted rape or murder. Faced with her abdication of will, abdication of will, with its implied collapse of human psychology, a protective group began to define itself in the audience. When a loaded gun was thrust to Marina's head and her own finger was being worked around the trigger, a fight broke out between the factions. So that was 1974. This is some performance art. Okay, what would a crowd do given 6 hours? And so I assume that's what it's referring to, the fact that she was sitting there naked, bleeding, being molested and messed with because she just said, you can do whatever you want to me. She did a whole little psychological experiment, and the conclusion is, people are nuts. You can't do that. Now, I don't know if Joey Badass is comparing himself to Marina Abramović, and it's like people are like taking shots at him and trying to see what he's doing, and he's putting himself out there, and he's got all the smoke, and he's fighting them off 1v20, 20 versus 1, or if he just, heard about it. But hey, more people who know about Marina Abramović, the better, because she's great. And then he keeps going with the art history bars. Hey, I got my degree in French and art history, so I love art history. I'm like Michelangelo with a brush of Van Gogh. That sort of works. I mean, Michelangelo is famous for the Sistine Chapel, but he didn't even want to paint that. He was a sculptor. The Pope made him do it. The Pope was like, dude, you got to do this. You have to paint this. He's like, I don't want to paint this. I'm a sculptor. I just want to paint like mostly naked dudes, frankly. Love those guys. And then the Pope was like, no, you got to do it. I'm Christ vicar on earth, so you're going to paint my ceiling. And so he did. But still, I'm like Michelangelo with a brush of Van Gogh. I mean, that's an interesting idea. What would he do if he had the freedom of line, the expressive capacity that had been developed in the centuries in between Michelangelo and Van Gogh? I don't know. This is a very fascinating idea. I'm not going to get too into it, just to say, if you love art history and you've studied their art together, what would Michelangelo do with a brush of Van Gogh? Slide the door, paint your house, and watch the black Van Gogh. Perfect. Now, of course, the problem is it's actually pronounced Van Gogh. But that's okay. Van Gogh, paint your house, red with the blood, going back to Abramović, the previous line, and watch the black Van Gogh, just how nasty it is, the idea of a black van opening up and painting you with blood. It's just great. It's awesome. Somebody's got to die. I'm just illustrating my pain. I'm spilling nail feelings. I'm sure I'll leave a stain. I swear I don't mean to smear a campaign. It's a damn shame if you can't see it. I'm portraying straight. How many body bags? I'm finna pile up. Just my luck. Ready for the smoke. In fact, I'm fired up. I got the notifications. Now I'm fitting a slide up. And then we end with those lines about where he quotes one of the two good songs off of Jay-Z's confusingly named second album, Volume 1. If I shoot you, I'm brainless. If you shoot me, you're famous. So, there it is. There's my thoughts. I think it's great. I still like what he's doing. I don't think it is the greatest thing ever. And I should probably spend some time with the West Coast responses. But I feel like the West Coast responses get so much. I wanna support the East Coast here. Because, frankly, the East Coast is not really showing up. Okay? It's like they have a team out there and they got a very good team with no superstars. Okay, that's what they got over there. They've got a very good team of young players, no superstars. All right, that's what they got going against Joey Badass. And Joey Badass is I don't know, Chris Bosh by himself. It's like Chris Bosh by himself. Playing against, I don't know, the Detroit Pistons. It's like, he needs some more players. I do better with art history than I do with basketball metaphors. All right. I don't think Chris Bosh has played for at least a decade. Until next time, tell me what you thought. Was this fun? I thought it was fun. I told my family this would take me less than 20 minutes, and guess what? We're right at 20 minutes. Until next time, there's the camera.